Thank you for sharing those fun ideas with us. Let me get to our next slide. Whoops. Okay, so here we talk about engagement. This is a definition from the Glossary of Education Reform, and it just reinforces the idea that student engagement in education refers to attention and curiosity, right? It's that why for our students, gets them motivated to learn and excited to show up every day, and that's what we're hoping to foster here. So why does engagement matter? It increases participation in learning for our students. It appeals to different types of learners. And most importantly, it builds a community of learners, right? We want our kids to be excited to learn and to show up every day. So like I said, this has been a growing presentation. This is a new series that we've started in the fall semester. These are all the topics that we covered if you want to navigate through the slides at all. And we have continued that on, and today we will be talking about writing. So these are the 3 strategies that we're going to share here with you today. And our first strategy, let me click on our link here, is a mystery photo. And I actually got this idea way back in our first session of Fast and Fabulous. A teacher shared this idea with me. And I just thought it was so great for online learning. And I know that when I teach writing, I often hear, I don't know what to write about, I'm stuck, right? So this is meant to generate ideas for your students. And I know we've all heard the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So this idea inspires writing, sparks curiosity, gets kids to think outside the box, and if it's designed appropriately, it can target vocabulary. So I'm going to display a zoomed in photo. I'm going to allow some think time, and then you are going to write or describe the photo. You can write a story about it, you can describe what you see, or come up with a scenario of what you think it is. Okay, then students would share their writing in either whole or small groups, and a bonus activity would be incorporating talk moves into this. So talk moves was one of our previous strategies. You can go check that out, but let's give this a try. So here is my mystery photo. I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. Again, we're going to use the chat here. You can either write or describe what you see going on. And I'm probably just going to give us about 45 seconds since we're a smaller group today. But go ahead and write what you think is going on here. Awesome. Yeah, I'm seeing some great responses in there. So this is where those talk moves would come in really well, asking students then to unmute and explain their ideas a little bit further. And this is also just a great strategy to introduce writing, right? Then students can move into a larger writing piece about this, but we've generated some ideas and some vocabulary around that. Now, some variations of this can be a reverse mystery photo. Maybe you have students describe something in great detail, and then they have to try to figure out what the photo is. This is a link here to a whole bunch of photo prompts from the New York Times that just sparked so much curiosity. You can screenshot them to zoom in on them to make your own mystery photo. You can do mystery GIFs, something else to spark creativity, or this can be a collaboration activity where kind of like what we did at the beginning, but we would build onto each other's ideas and have students pass their writing around. I'm going to pass it off to, I think, Kathy.
Thank you, Rachel. I love that strategy. I feel like it'd be a really good hook to a lesson as well. Oh man, it was so rich. I am going to be sharing another writing strategy, comics. And this one is close to my heart. As a child, I fell in love with comics. And I remember my third grade teacher telling me, that's not a real book, you can't read it. And it broke my little heart. And in my teaching career, I've seen it happen to a lot of other little students. And I always advocate for them because yes, this is a genre that is beautifully American. Like this is the American genre. Like we should take great pride in it and ownership in it. But also like it is rich in inference and like so many like really targeted skills. And so I'm going to encourage you to use it with your students and to see it as real writing. So like I said, it can engage some of our reluctant writers who maybe don't feel like their way of looking at reading and writing is accepted. This is a way to engage them. It can provide a variety of writing experiences to students. Once again, this is a genre. This is a type of writing that exists in our world. Why should our students not learn it? It's great if you want to use it as a pre-writing strategy. Maybe this is the brainstorming. Maybe you say that this is the bridge, this is the step towards the academic writing. It has that potential. It gives a purpose. I've seen comics used in a persuasive manner to inform, to educate, for storytelling purposes. So even within your own disciplines, it can have many applications. A really great thinker in education is Dan Ryder, and he wrote a whole book about this as an ESL strategy. Dan Ryder is R-Y-D-E-R. I'm sorry, I should have included it there if you want to look him up. You can use it for a post-reading strategy as well, like let's use this as a retell for comprehension. And you can focus on a specific skill. Maybe we're going to infer from a comic and then build our own comics. And using talk moves with, like Rachel said, if I'm presenting my comic to everybody, my class can make inferences, and then we can dive in deeper, ask the author what they meant when a certain character says something. Comics also give the opportunity to build empathy and vocabulary. So on this next slide, I'd like for us to try this out. And I have the link to this Jamboard. I can drop it in the chat. I'm sorry, Rachel. But you can also open it too, Rachel. This is a Jamboard that I made using Jamboard's new function, which is to set the background image. And so I set the background as the do you want me to present as the comic? I'm sorry, guys. It's loading. Oh, she's got it.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
No, it's okay. So this is borrowed from Jarrett Lerner, who created, like at the beginning of the pandemic for distance teachers, for virtual classrooms, a ton of Finish This Comic. And it's just kind of kept building and building, and now he has like so many that you can use in your classroom. But they kind of spark your imagination. I'm particularly thinking about my second graders who would see this and would immediately start thinking about, why would one robot be mad at another robot? And it sparks some imagination. But what you can do with this in Jamboard is actually draw and use text if you want to type, or I feel like the typing with the text box is easier than writing it with, even if you're on an iPad or have a Chromebook with a stylus, it would still be easier. But I'd like for everybody to go and check out the Jamboard. See how there's 4 different templates in here. So you could have this as a class writing activity where students actually get to choose which one they want to write on. Or you could have a focused one where everybody is writing on the same one. I included a blank one. I know that there's always a student who says, I feel confined by the robots. And he has dozens of these that already exist. But what I imagine happening in a classroom where this is consistently used is that students start submitting their own Finish This Comic, and that creativity is just sparked. And if you were to write a comic strip just about like why one robot is mad at another robot, it would be very easy for me as a student to then use this as a storyboard, in like a storyboard sense, to then springboard into writing a narrative, writing a story, using point of view even. Whose point of view am I going to take when I write the story about the robot? And so those are available if you'd like to steal them. Feel free to. But I also, on the next slide, included links to more. All of Jarrett Lerner's work is really fabulous. it's okay. And I encourage you to check it out. I linked it on the next slide. There's this really great one with a sloth, and you have to think about what he's dreaming about. What do sloths dream about? They dream so much. Or he has a lot of really great Earth Day activities too, which are going to be timely before we know it. And on the final slide that I have for you about comics, oh, it didn't show. It's on your version of the slides. You'd have to exit out and relaunch the presentation, Rachel, for it to refresh. I included some other resources that are digital. So Read, Write, Think has a comic creator where you can just drag the characters. And so there's no like trying to draw if you feel like that would be a barrier for your students to participate. And Ditch That Textbook has had a series on making comics using Google Drawings. And Google Drawings has some different applications that would maybe serve your needs better. So I encourage you to check those out. And I'm going to pass it off to Andrea for our final writing strategy.
Thanks, Kathy, and welcome everyone back for some fabulous strategies. Today I'm going to share Story Cube stories with you, and this is something that I used to use in my kindergarten classroom all the time to kind of generate ideas and help us to launch into writing, because sometimes writers get stuck with what to write about, and same old writing prompts every time do get a little bit boring. So Story Cubes definitely make it fun. It also gives us an opportunity to differentiate for our learners. You can use 1 cube, you can use 10 cubes, you can connect them, or you can make them each their own individual story. So thinking about lots of different ways to do that. For teachers in virtual learning, you can create your own story cubes and connect it to content or ideas that you're already working with. So students have a hook to vocabulary or different ideas that you're already talking with them about. Fun way to be able to collaborate and have students work together on a story, where possibly they're using a Google document, or they're breaking into a breakout room with one person writing down the story, or even thinking about how you could retell for those students that don't want to write, but still an opportunity to tell stories. And then these can connect to any one of your daily goals. So if you're focusing on setting, Story Cubes can help you do that. If you're focusing on characters, if you're focusing on inferences or different ideas, Story Cubes can really do that for you. So today I'm going to share with you a digital Story Cube, because you're not with your students. And the storyboard is linked here for you. It takes you to a website where you can choose from 0. And I don't know why there's 0, because there's 0, but it goes all the way to 30 possible cubes to create your story. You can click on it to change the number of cubes. You can click to get an entirely brand new story if you don't like any of the cubes that are presented, or you could click on each individual cube to give you a different image. So if you see one that doesn't necessarily make sense to you or your students, you can click each individual one. Now the students could you could do this in a whole group setting, so everybody's doing the same story, or you could create a storyboard for each individual student. Lots of different opportunities to be able to do this. And so thinking about how you could use small images to help your students really launch into their writing. Sometimes all they need is a hook or an idea to really get them starting in writing. And so some of these ideas can be as crazy, and I wrote in the notes, gibberish, right? So I can talk about the pineapple who was talking to the lamp, and they became king of the castle. Total gibberish, but the idea is that we want our students to write, and whatever they're writing and putting down on paper is going to be the best idea of the day. And so really helping your students to find whatever it is that's going to really kind of launch them in to wanting to put something down on paper, or to create a story that they can tell to you, either using Flipgrid or verbally, is also a great idea. So let's practice this strategy. I created 2 different scenes for us today. Today we're going to talk about just 5 words that can talk about an image. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Choose your image. Come up with 5 words that either describe that image or launch a story, set the scene for your image, and go ahead and type those ideas into the chat. So I could write number 3 and talk about that lion and where he's headed or the adventure that he's going to go on. So let's take 1 minute and choose your cube, choose your 5 words, and type it into the chat. No fancy timers today.
Did you say you found these on, where would I find this? This is cool. They would love that.
In the previous slide, there's a link to the site where you can find all of these.
Story Cube stories. Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
It's perfect. Thank you for those of you who shared your stories, and feel free to continue to add those ideas into the chat. How fun it is that you can really get to know your students. You can get to know things that they're interested in right away. And everybody has a different take. And so maybe everybody that chose Cube 1 went to the breakout room and shared their stories with each other. And so really coming up with ways to help students connect each other. Here's an example of instructions if you wanted your students to be able to work in groups. So that if you were to give everybody a line of cubes, they could go into breakout rooms in groups of 4 and really kind of invent a story collaboratively. And so there's an opportunity there for you to be able to do that. Or the idea of reverse it and have students draw the images to represent a story that they just heard or that they want to write about, and let their peers guess their story or add to a place where their story might be stuck. And so lots of ideas to use digital story cubes. Hopefully that gave you some inspiration to get some writing in for your students and to just give them an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves. So we've given you 3 writing strategies today. Hopefully you've enjoyed them, but we want to hear from you what writing strategies you've seen or are using in your classroom that are going really well. We would love to see if there's anything that we can learn from you guys or others can learn. So please drop those ideas in the chat if you have strategies about writing that are working really well in your classroom. Also, our contact is on here, so if you ever have anything that you need or ways that we can support you, either with writing or with engagement, please feel free to reach out to us. We're so happy to support in your classroom. Hopefully, your teaching is going amazing and you don't need us, but we're always here to support and help. Thank you for the great ideas that you're also sharing in the chat. We really enjoy learning with and from you all today. So, again, this presentation will continue to grow. Our session on Thursday will be all around assessment. So hopefully you can join back with us for 3 new strategies all around assessment. And please tell your friends, because we would love to see you all back on Thursday. So have a great day, and see you next time.
Thank all of you. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to try these. This sounds like fun. I've been feeling like I'm in a writing rut. So they'll be excited tomorrow. We'll try them for sure.
Thanks. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And hi, Violet.
Hi.